afternoon. It's McCollum on Business Monday edition. It's the week of the Fed meeting and be an interesting beginning of the week until we get that Fed decision coming up on Wednesday. We'll get into the market watch in just a second here. Of course, we do the market watch. Stocks we're paying attention to today, as well as national and local stories that you need to know around the business world. And of course, I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes, we'll get it all into there. So come on, let's get started with that market watch. And yeah, just one of those days, folks. Everything's kind of, stopping a little bit. Let's just phrase it that way. Stopping a little bit here today because of the Fed decision coming up this week. And I have a feeling it's going to be like this leading into that Wednesday decision on rate cut or not a rate cut coming up. Dow Jones right now is down 211 points to 47,743. The S&P 500 is down the 22 points right now to 6848. The Nasdaq's down 59.87. Yeah, that's to 23,518 there for the Nasdaq. Russell 2K, yes, that small cap index, 4 points up. The only one bucking the trend today is it's up to 4 points, and then there's Bitcoin. It's technically down today, only 78 points. That can change in the blink of an eye with Bitcoin, but it's more of its trading total amount that you look at, right? It was getting up into that mid 90,000 range for a while there. Well, 90,340 here for Bitcoin here on this Monday as well. So obviously, a lot of unknowns with this Fed decision coming this week. A lot of waiting for that answer coming our way. Well, that leads us to these stocks here and what's happening out there as well. First stock we're going to look at, Paramount Skydance here on this Monday, up 9.35%. Right now for Paramount Skydance. They lost that bid to Warner Brothers Discovery last week. Well, they lost that bid, but they are launching a hostile bid to buy Warner Brothers Discovery after it lost out there to Netflix, of course. So they're up 9.35% right now. So big news here because Paramount Skydance, I was reading this over the weekend, they thought their deal was higher, even though their share per dollar per share wasn't there. With all of their other stuff, buying the whole company and that stuff, they felt like their offer was better. So here comes the hostile takeover portion of this part of it as well. So let's look at Netflix stock as well. Obviously, they won that bid. I also saw this weekend that President Trump had said, Confluent we'll get to in just a minute if you're watching us here, but Netflix down 4.32%. I did see over the weekend, President Trump, at least his administration, is signaling there's no way Netflix is going to be able to buy Warner Brothers Discovery in the form that they want to in terms of regulation, because it will make a dominant streamer become more dominant when they buy the third best streaming company. So a lot of regulatory concerns here going into this deal, but Netflix down 4.32% based off of that Paramount Skydance and their hostile bid that they announced to hit as well. Now let's look at that Confluent stock here. The Wall Street Journal came out and they published a report yesterday that IBM is going to buy this company, Confluence, for $11 billion. So Confluence is a data infrastructure company as well. $11 billion deal that IBM's going to put together for that as well. Well, that means Confluent is up huge today, 29.21% as of right now. I will tell you this, earlier today, I don't have the graph for you, but IBM was slightly down earlier based off of this news as well, but 29.21% down now for Confluence here today off of that IBM. Well, it's advanced talks here. It's not an official deal, but advanced talks here for this $11 billion deal for Confluent out there. And then the last one we're going to do in this section, I'm not sure if Kobe has this stock there, but we're going to look at Broadcom here as well. That chip maker company. I threw that to him a little bit late. He might not have seen it. Not his fault, more mine than anything. I just wanted to tell you that the information, that reporting, did come out and report that Microsoft was in talks to move its chips business to Broadcom from Marvel Technology out there as well. So Broadcom is up about 3% today. Yeah, I threw it over to Kobe a little bit late. Not his fault. I forgot to mention it to him when I was in there. 3% up for them. I will tell you, Marvel, well, they're down about 10% today because that's losing a large customer, obviously, in Microsoft. if that does indeed happen, moving over to Broadcom as well. When we come back here in a little bit and look at the stocks, we're going to look at a local company out there, Carvana, making kind of a surprise move here. We'll talk about that coming up. CRH as well. They're an Ireland-based manufacturing company. And then Structure Therapeutics. They're a biotech company as well. We'll look at those three stocks and why we're looking at them here on this Monday. But first, some news that came out over the weekend and early today. First of all, regarding a couple stories regarding the airline industry. And the first one, well, the U.S. Department of Transportation has come out and they say they're waiving part of the large fine that was assessed against Southwest Airlines. This was back when Southwest canceled those thousands of flights in that winter storm back in 2022. So this was a 2023 settlement that was reached by the Biden administration and Southwest specifically. Southwest did agree to a $140 million civil penalty. The government said back then, this is the Biden administration, that the penalty was the largest it had ever imposed on an airline for violating consumer protection laws. It all stems from people being stranded with that winter storm and for multiple days after the storm. Kind of probably should have been solved in airplanes moving. So most of the money was going towards compensation for travelers. Southwest did agree to pay $35 million to the U.S. Treasury as well. Southwest did make a $12 million payment in 2024, then another $12 million payment earlier this year to the Treasury, so that's $24 million. But the Transportation Department did issue an order on Friday waiving the final $11 million payment that was due on January 31st, 2026. Why are they waiving it? Well, the department said Southwest should get credit for significantly improving its on time performances and then even investing in their network operations to waive that $11 billion fine payment that is left here, $11 million, excuse me, that is left coming up for Southwest. So I don't know about the good side of things in terms of the government not getting that money. Some people would argue that's always good they don't get it. But that's going to help, obviously, Southwest Airlines as they're kind of turning things around and changing their operations here coming up as well. But then the airlines have other things to worry about than just that Southwest fine. Yeah, U.S. Airlines were officially notified at the end of last week that an investigation is underway, and they're looking into whether they complied with the emergency order requiring flight cuts at those 40 major airports that was required during the government shutdown that happened. This is all from the FAA, and they came out with this on Friday. So the FAA, in this letter, they warned that the airlines could face fines of up to $75,000 for each flight over the mandated reductions. If you remember these mandated reductions, they started at 3%, went to 4%, and I think it did it. I think it got up to 6%, or they might have stopped it right before 6%. But those are those cuts that they had the airlines cut back on here. And like I said, 40 major airports, including Phoenix here as well. The airlines have 30 days to provide documentation showing that they actually complied with the order in cutting those flights as well. Remember the government shutdown? Who forgets it? 43 days, longest ever, and all that. Unpaid air traffic controllers, TSA not showing up as well for that stuff. And that's what led to those restrictions that the government put out there as well. The FAA said requiring all commercial airlines to commit those domestic flights, excuse me. They said at the time it was unprecedented, but it was necessary to ensure safe air travel until staffing at its control towers and facilities improved. So that was the basis behind the cutting of those flights. It was going to go up to 10%, but obviously government shutdown ended before it got to that side as well. What could get some airlines here in trouble, from what I've been reading about this, the shutdown ended November 12th. Well, airlines at that time thought that, and they anticipated that the FAA would lift or relax the restrictions that were put on the airlines. Well, the order was still in place on November 14th, and that was that 6% cuts is kind of where it did get frozen at there as well. Well, the problem is on November 14th, that 6% cut that was mandated, 2% of scheduled U.S. departures that day were actually canceled. which is telling the government people went back to regular operations before they were supposed to do so out there. And now the FAA is looking into these airlines as they did they break that rule? Did they come back too quickly? And something to watch out there. But that Southwest $11 million fine being waived, well, we'll see if it moves into something else out there as well here coming up. Now let's go from the skies to the railroads out there as well. And this, I don't know if this is good or bad. Technology helps, but when it comes to safety, I don't know if it's something that should take over, right, in terms of technology, because there's large freight railroads out there, and they're going to now be able to try to rely more on technology, well, to inspect their tracks out there. So less persons checking the tracks, and they're going to be able to do it, check them less often. And the federal government has approved their waiver request on Friday to cut back and rely on technology more often. The Association of American Railroads Trail Group did ask for the relief from inspection requirements. These laws, by the way, were written back in 1971, and the same rules here in 2025 as back then. Railroads do believe that automated track inspection technology that is used today, it's so good at spotting problems early that human inspections aren't needed as frequently because they're so good at catching them. They say the extended test that BNSF and Norfolk Southern, and they specifically ran, it shows that safety actually improved, even when human inspections were reduced from twice a week to twice a month. The Federal Railroad Administration didn't go quite that far in its decision, but the agency did say railroads will be able to cut inspections down to only once a week under the approved waiver. So human inspections once a week, computer checking more often, more basically all the time as these trains travel there as well. The railroads also had asked for permission to have up to 3 days to repair defects identified by the automated inspections. Yeah, if you find them on the automated side, nobody's there to fix it, right? Like there would be if you had human fixing. The Federal Railroad Administration, though, did say any serious defects in the tracks must be repaired immediately, and all defects should be addressed within 24 hours. The automated inspection systems use an array of cameras and lasers. They're either installed on a locomotive or on a specific rail car that they are pulling as well. Then it can be part of the train. The rail car would be part of the train to assess whether the tracks are moving out of alignment or shifting at all, which obviously could derail a train if they get too far out there. The union that represents track inspectors, obviously, they're not happy. They say technology can't detect things like rock underneath the track shifting, vegetation growing into the path of the trains, even a crack in the rail or railroad ties, actually rotting out and causing the shifting as well. Inspectors can spot a combination of small defects that might together derail a train, but the machine might not register a problem, is what the union's saying out there. So, obviously, big battle here, but I don't know. Relying on safety and cutting out the human side of it, obviously, it's a cost issue. I don't know if that makes railroad safety safer out there, and something changing out there on the regulatory side of things and everything. And we're going to look at Carvana stock here coming up here next time we look at the stock market. But quick story here for them, and this is quite a turnaround for Carvana out there. Every year the S&P 500, they do quarterly rebalancing, and the one coming up for this quarter is due on December 22nd. It's a big shocker here. So just in a couple weeks, right? It's December 8th right now. Well, Carvana, popular online car retailer, almost went out of business back in 2022. Well, they're joining the S&P 500. They're going to be alongside NVIDIA and those big companies as well. Landing a spot in the S&P 500 is a big deal. It's massive. It's huge. And for Carvana to get onto that is even more shocking because they basically collapsed back in 2022 after the pandemic, where everybody was buying cars and then they overpaid for a lot of their used cars and people weren't buying them at those levels as well. And obviously, this is a big deal because we know Carvana has fought its way back into relevancy again over the last couple years and profitable company again as well. Then if you look at Carvana stock, which we'll look at the actual graph here coming up on what they're doing today, But Carvana itself, 97% up year to date this year, and 30% up in the past month alone, leading up to this news of them joining the S&P 500. So local company doing good here as well, and for them. And like I said, we'll look at that graph here coming up here in our next segment here of the Market Watch. And but first, we got the important things to talk about out there. Google has unveiled its Year in Search 2025, as they call it. So obviously, this is the big events that were searched for, people, pop culture moments that everybody got in and Googled and everything, right? Big spikes, as they call it, in search interest with Google. It should be nobody's surprise here, right, that Charlie Kirk did top this year's list as the number one trending search in the U.S. He was killed there at Utah Valley University back on September 10th. So huge surge, number one search here for this year overall. The top five, by the way, Netflix film there, K-pop Demon Hunters, finished second as well. Those Labubus, which if you don't know what they are, they're ugly looking mean dolls. Well, that was a big search. I'm guilty of searching them when I was trying to figure out what the heck a Labubu is. Apple's iPhone 17 is the next one up there. And then if you want to talk politics and things people have a hard time understanding because of the language, one big, beautiful bill act was signed into law in July, and that finishes out there, that top five as well. So the New York City mayor-elect Zohan Mandami was a big search person as well. The AI platform DeepSeek, remember that Chinese one that pretty much tanked the U.S. markets for a couple of days when they announced DeepSeek out there as well. The government shutdown was a big search. And then FIFA Club World Cup, where it comes this summer here to Mexico, Canada, and the United States. And then, of course, tariffs rounded out the top 10 there, search sites in terms of the overall search sites out there. No surprise there. Those are big things that people obviously would search for as it's in the news, etc. But I want to look more like, if you want to look here at U.S. news searches and so get away from, the popular stuff and the name people, etc. And we told you, one big, beautiful bill act did meet, government shutdown did meet, Zohan Mandami did meet, in terms of, news searches did meet that first category. But so one big, beautiful bill did come in at number one, government shutdown at number two. The Charlie Kirk assassination itself came in at number three, followed by tariffs at four. No King's protest, which was a recent thing that happened here at number five. You go all the way back to January for those Los Angeles fires, January, February, March timeframe. The new Pope chosen is number seven. Epstein files. I'm surprised that's as low as number eight, folks, as well, right? Obviously, U.S. presidential inauguration in January is always a big subject to thing. But here's the 10th one that kind of questions me a little bit. Hurricane Melissa. What was that? I don't even remember that. Now, we don't deal with hurricanes here in Phoenix, but I don't even remember that. But that comes in at number 10 in terms of searches on Google for U.S. News report stuff out there. I'm always fascinated. It's some of the stuff is no-brainer, should be top of the list. It's not a shocker. And then some of it, like Hurricane Melissa, when was that thing? It came in at number 10, though. So it must have been big to someplace. It must have been big to some people out there as well. When we come back here, McCollum on Business on this Monday, I might have to Google Hurricane Melissa here to find out when that was and why it's all over the place. We're going to talk the Arizona Corporation Commission. Yes, we're going to talk that, folks. Ugh. We talked about them last week with APS. Well, we're going to talk about them about that down there in Tucson and what they've approved down there with that controversial data center that was going to be built, not going to be built. Now it might be back on again. We'll talk about that coming up here as well. And a couple other local stories and one more look at the stocks. And I'll give you that Carvana stock update as well. Come on back. It's McCollum on Business. And you just saw there the ad for The Real Matrix. The Angry Patriot will be back again this Wednesday at noon here on demand here at Robot TV. New episode coming up, episode 11. If you haven't caught any of the other episodes, well, they're available on demand here at Robot TV. It's got its own channel. Just go to homepage and the channels button there. Click on that. You'll see The Real Matrix there. Click on that. And 10 episodes up right now. New one coming noon. The Angry Patriot just asks you come into the show with an open mind out there as well. There is a free podcast system for the Real Matrix. Just search Real Matrix on your favorite podcast system, and of course, it's on the YouTube page here for our production company that we do here, as my company does. Here we put all of our shows up there as well. You can find that on YouTube. Just search Real Matrix; it'll come up for you there as well. Then, of course, the main event, well, that was done this morning. 8 to 10 live. Tomorrow, we have Bruce Cooper coming in tomorrow. I was just talking to Uncle Lou before the show. That's why I bring him up here as well. But Bruce Cooper tomorrow on Tuesdays as he is coming in during the football season. Uncle Lou looks like he's going to be moved to Wednesday. He's got a personal thing he's got to take care of Wednesday. And then we have a comedian joining us on Wednesday as well to talk him. He's a Boston sports fan. Stay tuned. We'll have that announcement coming up for you as well for Wednesday on the main event. Live 8 to 10 here at Robot TV. After that, on demand at Robot TV, on demand on YouTube, and of course, the podcast systems out there. You can find us, like and subscribe to the YouTube and podcast system. If you would, I would greatly appreciate that. And then, of course, the pit stop on hiatus, the lawsuit for NASCAR and his team still going on. Get you updates there at the Pit Stop Talk is where you can follow me on Twitter there, on X. And, of course, we might do some emergency podcasts here and there, shows on hiatus until the racing season starts again, coming up in January, February. Looking forward to getting that fired up. F1 just finished their season over the weekend. Norris gets the championship there in the F1 field. Some controversy for them, but shocker, it's F1. No shocker there as well out there. And, of course, when we're done with this show here, live at 11 o'clock on Robot TV, we put it up on demand at Robot TV, also on the YouTube page as well. So join us there for your on-demand stuff. And, folks, enough of that nonsense. Let's get right into the Market Watch. As I said, everything's just on hold today. Even the Russell 2Ks flipped to the negative side. Fed meeting on Wednesday is the big thing that everybody's going to be waiting for and paying attention to come up here as well. Dow Jones is down 265 points right now, and the S&P 500 is down 25. Well, the Nasdaq's down 10 points right now as well. The Russell 2K down, well, it's down 0.6, so basically even, but it has flipped from the positive side. We have 4 points up when we looked at it earlier. And then there's Bitcoin still in that low 90,000 range, 90,273 for Bitcoin today. You're not going to see a lot of movement breaking major news until the Fed makes their decision on a quarter rate cut or keep rates the same. And we'll have to see that reaction coming up on Wednesday as well. And let's look at the stocks of Carvana. We told you we would look at them. We told you earlier they're going to join the S&P 500 coming up here December, end of December. Well, they're up 13.18% based off of that news. Anytime a stock joins one of the major indexes, well, their stock usually shoots up on that day. We just did that story on it, but big turnaround here for Carvana. And then another company, CRH, is what we're going to look at here today, up 5.44% here today. Them and Carvana, and CRH is an Ireland-based manufacturer, at least in the terms of this is their American version of the stock here. Both of them are adding and joining the S&P 500. This was all announced on Friday out there. And Carvana, by the way, was up 10% just on Friday after that news. So December 22nd is the date that they officially joined the index there as well. So good news for both of these companies and joining that index side. And finally, we're going to look at a biotech company called Structure Therapeutics out there. Structure Therapeutics, well, look at this, 93.37% up. It's almost doubled, folks. What if it could get to the 100% thing? That'd be spectacular to see out there. Well, Structure Therapeutics did say its obesity pill, it showed weight loss as much as 11% after 36 weeks of treatment. Every manufacturer and every weight loss company, including, Novo Nordisk and those, they're all trying to get a pill form instead of a shot form of their weight loss drugs. Well, these guys said it's obesity appealed 11% after 36 weeks here, folks. They're up 93.29% based off of that news. And first one to get the pill out is going to make a lot of money, popping pills instead of shooting up with a needle is going to be a huge change here in weight loss that happens out there. So Structure Therapeutics, good for them getting to this point out there. Now let's talk a little bit of a couple of local stories out there. And let's go down to Tucson. Here's another update. We talked last week about, Amazon not being involved in that Project Blue project down there in Tucson. Well, doesn't mean it's not continuing on, or at least the hopes of building that data center. The Arizona Corporation Commission did approve, I believe on Friday, the latest version of that Project Blue in Tucson. So the Pima County Board of Supervisors voted to approve the land sale of a 290-acre stretch of an unincorporated land for this project earlier this year. This is the one that was mired under secrecy. Everybody in the government signed, non-disclosure forms, etc. And it kind of leaked out. This is also the building down there. They're going to build and use the river water to cool down everything with Amazon running it. Well, that would have drained something like 60% of that river into the building. And then it was eventually, with all the pressure, canceled and things to that effect, or at least denied the water usage side of it. But this latest proposal that was approved, it's going to use electricity, of course, from Tucson Electric Power down there, TEP. They're going to use the electricity to power and cool off the facility instead of the water from the river at one point as well. Well, this building is aiming to be operational by 2027. This is that one where the developer Beal Infrastructure we've talked about a lot, and they're still moving forward here as well. ACC commissioners did vote 4-1 to allow Tucson Electric Power to power the project. Commissioner Rachel Walden was the only no vote in this deal. Well, she said she understood data centers are of interest to the federal government, and she said she understood TEP was trying to provide service to Beal as it would any other customer. Anybody up here in Phoenix knows data centers go in, your residential rates go up, and they go up big, not just with water, but electricity as well. But this one commissioner is looking out for the people of Tucson down there. She said she was skeptical if a data center would actually come to fruition in this case, right? We don't even know who's going to be involved in this since Amazon has reportedly backed out as well. She also pointed out that the energy the data center is requesting, they're requesting 300 megawatts of power. That's enough to power as many as 270,000 homes in that time frame. So the Amazon Web Services, they originally planned to operate the inside of the data center. Well, they pulled out of the deal by all reports, if that's true out there. So who's going to be involved in this as they're moving forward here? This Beal company moving forward as well. TEP, Tucson Electric Power, they argued in this meeting that they had enough power to sustain a data center without raising rates. Don't believe it, Tucson. We've seen it up here with Mesa and Phoenix and APS and SRP. Your rates are going to go up if you open these data centers down there. Just be prepared for it. I'm not arguing good or bad on the data center. I'm just saying, don't believe those lies out there. Here, our last story today is about Sprouts Farmers Market. The local grocery chain that's making it big and expanding out to many different states out there as well. They're a specialty grocery chain. They're not like your normal Fry's or Kroger's and Albertsons out there. Well, they do something weird. They've never before, allowed TV shows or movies to be filmed within its stores out there. Well, the company did make an exception for a hit show, and this is a big hit show on Apple TV. The interesting thing about the show, I have not watched it yet, but the creator of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, I never got into those two shows, but from what I see, and it looks amazing. Every year I'm like, I gotta get back and watch these as well. So it's one of those types of shows, that from that guy. So kind of what you're looking at when you look at it. Both of those, though, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, were filmed in New Mexico, and so is this new show. Pluribus. I don't know how you say it. Pluribus. We'll just say Pluribus. It's airing its first season on Apple's streaming service. It features multiple scenes inside of an Albuquerque Sprouts store. So the company, obviously, Sprouts, is trying to take advantage of the national attention that the show is receiving. Because I think they're in 24 states now, if I remember correctly, for Sprouts. So they're growing, etc. The series itself explores a world-changing event, and during all of that chaos, the main character, who is somebody named Carol, is played by Rhea Seahorn, by the way. You know who that is? She wants her Sprout store back to normal, is the concept of this part of the series. Later in the series, well, that character uses the Sprout store to help solve a mystery. The grocery chain is not featured in the show as part of her product placement deal or even brand partnership. Yeah, the writer and director of the show, Vince Gilligan, he specifically asked for Sprouts in this show as well because he's a fan of the grocery store as well. So Sprouts is mentioned by name in Pluribus. The store can also be by identified because Sprouts have a unique layout and its logos are clearly seen throughout the episode as well. The scenes were shot in a Sprouts store in in Albuquerque. I'll just tell you Albuquerque. And they were filmed over a course of 2 days. During that time, Sprouts had to close the store as well. The company has its employees redirect customers trying to shop during the production to another Sprouts location in town. They even handed out gift cards for the inconvenience of the filming. I was reading they wanted the bare stores because obviously life-changing event or life-altering event. The stores clean out. They had to clean out. They donated all the perishable items to local charities there in New Mexico as well. Cleaned all the shelves out and had to restock and do all of that stuff after filming happened. And I find it interesting. Sprouts chose that show to do stuff. They didn't have any say in the writing. They gotta see a little bit of the script before deciding. But Sprouts obviously is using this as an advertising tool moving forward for their company and how they're growing in these other states out there. So, local company making it big. And that show, Pluribus, there on Apple, is one of the hot shows out right now as well. And huge ratings there on Apple TV, and everybody's talking about it out there. Yes, Sprouts get involved there. Hey, folks, I appreciate you joining me for this Monday edition of McCollum on Business. We're going and heading toward the Fed decision on Wednesday. So join us tomorrow as we get ready for that and kind of talk more about what's happening in the business world and the stock market leading up to the Fed decision on Wednesday. Well, we'll see you tomorrow, 11 o'clock live. Catch us on demand, as I said, Robat TV on the YouTube page as well. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great Monday night.